This is the back to school night presentation for Mr. Cafferky's History 6 and 7 class. I'm Mr. Cafferky. Your child is either in History 6, which is the United States history up until 1865, or History 7, which is the continuation of that, the United States history from 1865 to the present. Just to get started, a little bit about myself. This is my 6th year working at Glasgow. I've been teaching 6th and 7th grade history during that time. I got my undergraduate degree from William and Mary, and then I received my master's from George Mason University. I have a wife named Jessica, who you see there. She's a teacher as well. She teaches 6th grade in another school. And I have 2 kids, 2 boys, Teddy and Miles. Teddy is 3. He's in that picture with my wife and I. And then my new son is Miles. He's about 1 month old. There he is, there on the bottom. And then we also have, you see on the bottom as well, we have a cat named Pedro. And obviously also on there, you see some sports teams that I like. I'm a big baseball, hockey, soccer fan. So those are some of the teams I have a rooting interest for across the bottom there. Just some things about my class, my classroom. I believe students learn best when they feel like they're part of a community, part of a group, all working towards the same goal. So I really try to make the class feel that way. I think it's important for kids to have opportunities to practice. That's when they learn best, when they're introduced to something, but then they have a long time to practice with it and get comfortable with it, rather than just whipping through topics and content and skills without opportunities for meaningful practice. And I think that they learn best when they can connect the things that we learn about in class to their lives outside of class. And fortunately for me, I feel like history as a subject is easily connected between things we're learning about from the past and current events today. To be successful, kids have to work hard and stay committed. That's the most important thing, is to stick with it. There's going to be challenges in my class and in all classes, frankly, but especially with this new virtual learning situation that we find ourselves in. But staying committed is going to be paramount to being successful in this class. It's also important that kids advocate for themselves if they're having a problem, especially in this virtual learning setting that we find ourselves in. It's crucially important that kids advocate for themselves, whether it's in a synchronous lesson, letting the teacher know that they're not understanding or having trouble with something, or outside of that time, either coming to office hours on Mondays or Thursdays, which is when they are for me, or sending emails. I've included my email at the end of this presentation, so if you or your student ever has any questions, you can always email me at that time. And then I think for success, students need to believe that they can be successful. Sometimes kids, they get discouraged, and then they just sort of say, well, what's the point? I can't do this. I think one of the most important things for success in school is just the belief that it can happen for you. So I try to make sure I instill that in my kids every chance I get. For History 6, these are the units of study that we cover throughout the year. It starts with geography, moving on to American Indians across North America, explorers from Europe to North America, and then moving into more of an America-centric topic of history with colonial America, the Revolution, America as its own nation, and then as it grows westward, and then finishing with Civil War in 6th grade, moving right along to 7th grade, which starts with Reconstruction right after the Civil War is over. Another westward expansion unit in 7th grade that's slightly different in focus than the one from 6th grade. We talk about industrialization, and then side by side with industrialization is immigration, urbanization, and progressivism. Then we move to World War I, the 1920s and the Great Depression. Then we talk about World War II, which is always a student favorite, followed by the Cold War, civil rights, and then we finish with globalization, which is essentially just things that are happening now, current events type of thing. As far as the curriculum, we have a number of different types of a couple different types of assessments, and then other ways for your student to receive feedback. Formative assessments are assignments that we do in class, and checks for understanding we have during lessons that help us understand where your student is, what they're understanding, and what they still have trouble with. That's contrasted with summative assessments, which is to see like how many of these skills, how much of this content have you picked up. So where the formative assessments are not graded, Summative assessments are where you see that they're where the grades come from for this class. We usually have 8 or 9 summative assessment grades during the course of a quarter based on IB criterion. And those are the things that your student will complete by themselves and then turn in for a grade. And that's where their grade will come from in a given quarter. These are all those summative assessments can be retaken, which is something we can get more into at a later time. As far as other feedback, your student will receive feedback on work they turn in during the week, asynchronous work they have on the Mondays that we do, and any other homework, although there's not a lot of homework assigned in history class. They can also just request feedback in addition to the feedback they get on all the things that we do, both live and after the fact. They can also certainly just request feedback from the teacher, from me, if they need it or want it. So teacher support, there's a number of ways that you can reach me and or see what's going on. You see probably the best, frankly, there's so many different things going on at the beginning of the year for us and for you all as well. The easiest thing is just to send me an email, which is at the bottom there. I'll always respond within 24 hours, usually quicker than that. But email is going to be the fastest way to do it. As far as what we'll be doing in class, the best place to go for that is going to be Google Classroom. Your student is connected to a Google Classroom that they can show you. That's where I post the weekly lesson grid that says what we're working on for the week. I post every lesson that we're going to complete in class gets posted on Google Classroom, and it makes its own copies of all the work that we're doing so that you can see also not just what we are doing as a class, but specifically your students' work and how they're doing on it. You can see feedback that we provided them, anything like that. I've also included contact information, the grid. Those things are on Blackboard 24/7 as well, if you're more familiar with that or just more comfortable with that. As far as supporting your child, I think the biggest thing is like it says there, just to ask them about what they're doing, right? What are they learning? How did it go? Something interesting they learned today, anything like that. And then as far as work, checking in on their work, just to sort of make sure, you don't have to do this all the time, but just make sure that they're getting it done, right? We don't have homework in this class, but essentially any classwork that you don't finish would become homework. I set it up so that there shouldn't be any. We work through our work each class with an eye towards finishing it all, but things happen. There could be technology related problems. You never know what could hinder somebody from finishing their work. So I would just say making sure they complete their classwork, even if they don't quite have enough time to do it during class, would be important. But if they're doing their work and you're checking in with them, that there's no reason they shouldn't be successful. Supplies, the big one is the computer, obviously, keeping it charged, keeping it clean. But it's not a bad idea to have paper. I take notes during the lessons on a notepad, and I think that it would be good for the kids as well. So if you can encourage your student to have some sort of notebook and writing utensil near the computer when they're doing work, I think that would be smart. And then something like an agenda or something where they can just make sure that they're keeping their classes straight and any deadlines they have coming up for those classes. I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be a great year. I think that while the virtual learning setting it poses challenges, I think it poses it also gives us some unique opportunities, and I'm looking forward to seeing how those can actually benefit and improve our learning over the course of the year. And I look forward to working with your students.